Cowboys decided that running the ball, not so important, all right? And I say that because yesterday, look at the beginning of the game. The Cowboys have mentioned multiple times this year, look, game got out of hand, and we didn't really get into running the ball. And I guess, that is part of it, or maybe you can commit to it, slow the game down. You can actually be good at it, and then it's a constructive part of what you're doing. But I wanted to look at the way teams are running the ball, because it feels like the Cowboys are getting it's getting run down their throat as easily as they want.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing, though, more teams are committed and connected to the run, not just against the Cowboys, but around the league in general. Now, we can get into the conversation that I know we probably will have at some point, and that is when you're ahead, you run.
Sure.
That was the Jimmy Johnson, Norv Turner, we're going to give the ball to Emmett in the third and fourth quarter, and good luck trying to catch up to us. And I agree with Broadus wholeheartedly. Whenever you get that third quarter 8-minute drive that breaks somebody's back, you've taken the team out. You crushed their soul. Their pharynx is done. Whatever, anything you want to say.
Their pharynx.
Yeah, their larynx, both of them. They're done for, all right? That's when you know you've done it. But if you can't do that, you're going to be in these games, late in games against bad teams that have offenses. You're going to be in a shootout with them, or you're going to be in the situation we were against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The best teams in the NFL right now are running the ball effectively.
What?
They're running the ball effectively.
No,
they're running
not.
it the way they want to, and they're scoring with it. And it's not just because they're on the goal line. They're doing it throughout the entire game.
It's all about the pass game, though, Corey. Come on now.
And I do believe that there was
Air raid.
I believe that this is, man, that was fun. That was very fun. But guess what? Brian Robinson was out, so they weren't able to run the ball the way they want. Austin Eckler did just fine. McNichols did just fine. The trend was shifting to the running back doesn't matter. And I'll be honest, I don't know if the single running back matters as much as your running game matters. But right now, the best teams that are winning are running the ball effectively, and I have some show to go along with this. Let's go to week 6. Out of the top 10 teams in rushing, the lowest rusher was Chuba Hubbard at 92 yards, number 10. Loss. Tony Pollard, loss. The next 8 teams, won. Sean Tucker, 136 yards, 9.7 yards per carry. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers win against New Orleans.
Okay.
Now, sure, they took off the third quarter, but they won against New Orleans, 51-27. He had a monster day. We'll talk about him more later today. Derrick Henry, second leading rusher, 132 yards, 5.5 a carry, 2 touchdowns. Win. Najee Harris, 106 yards, touchdown. Win. Tyler Algier, 38-20, 105 yards. Win. Joe Mixon, 102 yards, win. Isaac Guerrero, 99 yards, win. J.K. Dobbins, win. All those guys almost at 100 yards. So I go back to week 5. I'm like, all right, hold on. That was week 6. 8 of the top 10 teams that had rushers won. Let's go back to week 5. Tyrone Tracy was the leading rusher.
Oh.
Guess what happened for the New York Giants against Seattle?
They beat the Seahawks.
Now, Kyron Williams, he was 102 yards. They did lose 24-19. I'll blame that on the Rams just not being good. Kareem Hunt, 102 yards, win. Tank Bigsby. Jacksonville sucks. I know I'm not supposed to say that as often. They're terrible.
No way around it.
They are, thank you very much. They are terrible. Tank Bigsby gets a win because he runs the ball effectively. Then you roll down to Derrick Henry. I think what it is here is 7 of the top 10 rushers, their teams got win. Go back to week 4. 7 of the top 10 teams and rushers get wins. Go back to week 3. 9 of the top 10 rushers get wins. Week 2, 8 of the top 10 rushers get wins. Rushing the ball now, running the ball now, I think is more important than it's been over the last 5 to 7 years. Because the trend was quarterbacks control this thing. That's the only important part of it. I think now making sure you have an offensive line like the Lions, one that can kick your ass all day long, making sure you can block it up front, and then having the running back that can get to and through the hole is more important than ever before. If you agree, that's fine. If you disagree, we can have that discussion too.
I mean, the Cowboys won over the Steelers, and what was Rico Dowdle's stat line? right? Rico Dowdle had his best performance of his career. They ran 21 plays in 3 series offensively. The score was 10-3 because they love, and you mentioned it, they love talking about the attempts, right? All the game flow we got out of running the football. You can't really have a fair judgment on this. 6 of the 21 plays were runs. 2 of those runs were to Rico Dowdle, who is your best running back and was coming off of his best performance. 1 was to CD, 3 were to Ezekiel Elliott. And did Ezekiel Elliott just go ahead and say, I'm a little bit frustrated with my role, confused, whatever the word was that he actually used?
Did.
And then he came into the football game earlier than we've seen him since week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, and it did not go well. It was not effective. So, yeah, you can say the game flow and opportunities. You ran it 6 times in 21 plays, and you gave your best running back the ball 2 out of those 6. What do you expect to happen here? So there is something to be said about when you have a lead, obviously you're going to be running the football. So, yeah, I get sometimes those numbers are going to be skewed, but running the ball well, stopping the run, those are always going to be formulas for success in the National Football League. No matter what's happened with the fantasy football era and the shotgun and the air raid that took over college football and now has seemed to matriculate its way into the NFL, you've always got to be able to line up and dominate in the trenches. And yesterday, you got your ass kicked at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and that's happening far too often for this team. And I was excited when Christy Scales broke the news. That's why you turn it on and leave it on. That's why you Tolo here on the flagship home of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy it was a shock to everyone. Tyler Smith was going to start at left tackle. Tyler Guyton active, but not going to start. And I liked it. Because you watched him against Pittsburgh last week, they got movement. Mm-hmm. They moved people with that starting 5, and the Steelers have a respectable defense.
Yeah, they do.
TJ Watt, maybe best defensive player in football. Cameron Ward's been one of the best defensive tackles in the league for a long, long time. Keanu Benton's a tough guy to move, right? They did that. Tyler Smith, TJ Bass, Beebe, Martin, Steele, they were getting movement in the running game. Yesterday, far from that. Zach Martin, Aleem McNeil was eating his lunch out there. I mean, Zach Martin looked like a shell of himself. Everybody on that offense, it was just their worst day. And I don't know what they're going to do with the offensive line moving forward, but you're absolutely right. I think this is a great think piece here with how this offense is constructed. Is it the line or is it the runner? This team, you could say it's a combination of the two, but I think we've seen more often than not from me this year, this line has created some movement in the running game. The runners aren't good enough. And I don't know how they could have looked at what they had at that position after the draft and thought that this was going to be successful.
Yeah, from the 469, putrid is the word that they use. And I'm sorry, I almost called you Kevin, Zach.
It's okay. I can be Kevin today for you.
No, that's fine.
But I love the Stars, and Kevin hates them.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I love about you.
Yeah.
Kevin doesn't care that much. The thing, and this is a discussion over and over and over, if you can't run the ball, you become one-dimensional, and you're hanging everything on your quarterback. Well, hell, now you can't block for your quarterback because a team like the Detroit Lions knows they can't run the ball. We don't have to fear it. So all we have to do is say, put our best pass rushers out there and suffocate them. Dan Quinn was great at that because that was what his talent was. The team that he had, they were all pass rushers. He was like, I'm just going to suffocate you with it. But whenever you become one-dimensional and you can't put any fear into what the opponent has to do, look at yesterday's game or yesterday's play. The play that you said was the one that you knew it was over after that was the Sam Laporta play. Go watch Malik Hooker on that play. Malik Hooker steps down, steps right, steps back left, then steps back right because he believed everything about the run because David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs running right through you all day long. And he said, I got to be up here to stop the run. So he vacates a huge area of the field, and there's Overshown having to chase Sam Laporta down because they bit so hard on what the run is. That's part of the game that you're saying, I'm not going to be one-dimensional. I create the essence that I am going to run the ball, even if I'm not going to.
Right.
You think I'm going to, and now it's given me a split second because the margin of error in this NFL is so fine, you need those split seconds. When you can't run the ball, you don't give yourself the opportunity to be able to do that. Somebody texted in a few moments ago, teams have gotten smaller because they start building their team that way to combat the pass.
Yeah.
And that's a reality in team building when you're looking at the trends around the league. We call it copycat league. You're trying to figure it out. I've always feel like the Cowboys are about 2 or 3 years behind on every trend. They're like, all right, we're going to zag now. And they always feels that they're in that way. We talked about that 6 years ago. Kevin and I were on a weekend show still. Something like that. I remember talking about it with Broadus because we were looking at TCU and we were saying, is this the new trend?
Yeah.
Because TCU went all safeties. They were like, we're doing cornerbacks and
Gary
safeties
Patterson
everywhere.
Defense.
Yeah, we're you know what? Because the way college game is, we have to be more like this. Well, a lot of the NFL coaches now have said, yeah, we can implement part of what that college offense is, but we don't have to say that that's the only aspect of it. Hell, there were guys making lots of Super Bowls and money off of what they did in the running game before. Why don't we add all those things together? That's what we're seeing right now. The trend is more offenses are doing more, not doing less. But the Cowboys offense, they're doing less because they force themselves to it. This is by their own design. This offseason was the big factor in it. We're just going to go with this tackle here. I know Udoga was, kind of in the mindset of maybe he would be involved in it.
Yeah, that wasn't going to be helping you.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, Udoga, and hey, could be wrong. I've always thought he was better at guard than he was at tackle. I haven't forgotten he cost you a game in Miami at left tackle last year. I don't think Udoga was coming in here and fixing that.